Today we will be making a simple, beginner-friendly anemone out of heavy crepe paper. The crepe paper colors we're going to be using are heavy and honeysuckle, black, and juniper. And then we'll also be using an extra fine crepe paper in Cypress. You're going to need 2 different gauges of wire, a thick stem wire, as well as a 24 gauge wire. You will need an 8mm cotton spun ball. For tools, we're going to be using the Scalloped pinking shears, a curling tool, and a Fringe clip. We will be using various other tools and materials today, and all of those can be found in the post and in the printable PDF instructions. Let's get started. To get started, you're going to want to cut out all of your crepe paper from the template provided or using the SVG cut file and a cutting machine. I chose to cut out all of my crepe paper by hand just using the PDF template. These are very easy shapes to cut, and I'll give you a little bit of instruction on how to cut out the stamen piece. This is the stamen piece that's been cut out from the PDF template. You're going to be using your larger scissors and then take a piece of your heavy black crepe paper. Go ahead and cut that piece out following the template. And once you've finished that, we're going to stretch this piece out as much as it will stretch. Once you've stretched it out, we're going to take our template again, line it up, and then cut this piece of black crepe paper back down to the size of the template. To finish cutting the stamen piece, I'm actually going to place it into the fringe clip. I'm going to place one end just aligned with the beginning of the fringe clip and let the other end hang over. I'm then going to take my scalloped pinking shears and I'm going to cut the top edge. Now you can either use your PDF template to follow the cut fringe lines, or you can just use the scallops as a guide. These fringe lines are the same width as the scallops, so I find it easiest just to use the scallops. To cut these fringes, I'm going to use my detail scissors, and I'm just cutting all the way down to the fringe clip. Now I'm going to move my fringe clip down to the other side of the crepe paper, and I'm going to continue fringing. Once I've finished fringing the stamen, I'm going to twist them between my fingers. So I'm just moving my fingers back and forth until the fringe begins to roll. They may kind of clump up as you're rolling, however they should separate pretty easily. You can then move the fringe clip back down to the other side and continue rolling them between your fingers. Once you're done, you can go ahead and take it out of the fringe clip and just set it aside until we're ready to use it. For our next step, you're going to need your thick stem wire and your 8mm spun ball. You're also going to want your needle nose tweezers. I'm going to use those to find the hole that's in the bottom of the ball and just press both tips of the tweezers into it and kind of circle the tweezers around to make that hole a little bit bigger so it slides onto your wire easily. Then you're going to take your Barely Art Precision craft glue and apply some glue into that hole, and then place the tip of your thick stem wire into the hole. Next, you're going to take the ball cover, which is just the small circle of the black crepe paper. We're going to apply some of the white glue all over one side and then place it directly on top of the ball. Go ahead and stretch the crepe paper over the ball and fold the edges down so that the ball is fully covered. You can wrap the excess crepe paper just around the thick stem wire by just twisting it between your fingers. Once you've completed that, we're going to add the stamen around the ball. So take your stamen and apply glue along the bottom edge. Then you're going to wrap it just under the ball around the thick stem. Just keep wrapping it around directly on top of itself. And once I've finished wrapping, I always like to roll that wrapped crepe between my fingers just to compress it and make sure everything is going to stay in place really well. Next, we're going to take our curling tool and we're going to use it to curl these stamen in so that they kind of wrap around the ball. So take your curling tool and place it between the ball and the stamen, and then pinch the stamen between your thumb and the curling tool. Just kind of push the stamen over the edge of the curling tool, and this should curl the stamen in. You can kind of push them up and around the ball with your fingers from the underside. Okay, now we can set this aside and we are going to begin shaping our petals so that we can add them to our flower. We're going to begin with the smaller petals, and you have 3 of them. Start by taking one petal between your thumbs and stretch with your thumbs in the center, pressing in to make a nice cupped shape. Do this very gently. You don't want to stretch the petal out all the way. We're just stretching it enough to get a nice cupped shape. And then we're going to take our curling tool. We're going to curl the top edge back. So place the petal between the curling tool and your thumb, and then press the petal over the edge of the curling tool to curl that top edge back. We're going to repeat this with all 3 of the small petals. And then next we're going to shape our larger petals. So we're going to begin the same way, just by stretching them between our thumbs to form a cup, and then using our curling tool. We're going to curl the edge back on one side, and then on the opposite side, we're going to curl it in. And for each of these larger petals, you can curl the tops in different directions to give it more of a wild, organic feel. So some of them I might curl both sides of the petal back. On another one, I might curl both edges in. I love it when it gets more of like a dip and a ruffly edge to them. Now that you've shaped all your petals, we're going to begin adding them around the center of our flower. We're going to start with our smaller petals. I'm going to add a bit of glue to the base of my petal and then attach it to the stamen where it's wrapping just around the stem. For my second petal that I add, I'm going to add it just to one side of that first petal so that it's overlapping a bit. And then my third petal, I'm going to add some glue to the base, and then I'm going to place it directly across those other 2 small petals. Next, I'm going to add my 4 large petals. The first one I'm going to place almost centered between those 2 small petals that are placed very close together. And then the remaining 3 I'm just going to place evenly around the flower. And I just want to make sure that none of my petals are stacked directly on top of each other. So I don't want any petals like nesting inside of each other. Okay, so this is what the flower looks like once you've added all of your petals. Right now it's very closed, but once the glue dries, we are going to open up these petals. To start finishing this, we are going to wrap the stem using a piece of juniper crepe paper. So go ahead and take some of your juniper crepe paper, and I'm just going to cut a strip off the top edge, cutting against the grain. We're going to be using this just like floral tape. So if your strip is laying out this way, the grain should be going up and down. I'm going to add a bit of glue just around the base of my flower and down the stem. Then I'm going to stretch the end of this crepe paper strip just to get my wrap started, and then begin wrapping it around the stem. And as you wrap, angle that crepe paper strip down to begin wrapping all the way down that thick stem. Once you've wrapped about 3 inches down your stem, go ahead and stop. You can leave the rest of that crepe paper strip attached, and we're just going to set it aside. This is where we're going to add our leaf. So now I'll show you how to make your leaf. You're going to need your 2 leaf halves that you cut from the heavy juniper crepe paper, and then you're going to need a 24 gauge wire. Take your white glue and apply it down the straight edge of 1 leaf half. Lay your wire on top of that glue, and then apply a bit more glue on top of the wire. Then you can place your second leaf half just on top of the wire and really press that crepe paper together. Flatten it out as much as you can. And flip the leaf over and press from the back side as well. Then use your detail scissors to kind of cut the top of the leaf back into a soft pointed shape. And use a pair of wire cutters to cut the end of the 24 gauge wire off. Just leave about an inch of wire at the end of your leaf. You can then take your flower, and I'm going to add a bit of glue here where I want to add my leaf. I'm going to add a little bit more glue on top of the leaf and wire, and then just continue wrapping. And I'm going to wrap around this first bit of the leaf wire 3 times and then continue moving down my wire. If your strip is a little bit too short, just go ahead and grab another strip of that crepe paper and continue wrapping, and then be sure to glue the end of that wrap so everything stays in place. Now we can shape our leaf, so you just want to bend it out a bit. Take your curling tool and you can curl the tip down, and the other bits of the leaf you can curl to just give it a little bit more shape. And then to finish, we can pull the petals of our flower out. Just use your fingers to very gently push them out and down. And that is your finished beginner anemone.